Things First is sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolf alongside Nick Wright, Kevin Wilds, Eric Mangini with us on this Friday morning. Good to have you with us, Coach. We got a great show for you today. Where will Cam Newton end up? We'll toss that around a little. George Kittle's going to stop by, join the conversation. And as always, it seems to be Brady versus Belichick versus Brady versus Belichick. That's where we start this morning. Tom's out of New England now. The future in Tampa that's looking bright. Fox bet giving him the 9th best odds to win MVP, tied with Kyler Murray. But the way he left the Patriots has us still talking. Why wasn't there a bigger push from Belichick to keep him? And how did that land with Brady? I was an older athlete, Tom said, and he started to plan for the future, which is what his responsibility is. And I don't fault him for that. That's what he should be doing. Nick, once again, Brady taking the high road here. What do you make of his comments? What he had to say?
Well, the graciousness here is really unbelievable. You put it exactly right, Jenna. He took the high road at every opportunity during this 2-hour and 9-minute interview with Howard Stern. At no point did he needle. At no point did he show any outward bitterness, anger, or even any hurt or vulnerability. And so I will give him credit for that, because this is Tom Brady continuing his 20-year track record of being not only the consummate professional, but the consummate teammate. Now, does that mean I believe that those are his true, earnest, honest feelings? I don't, because even though Tom Brady has ascended to the level of sports demigod, he is still human. And any human in the position Brady's in would be wounded by what just happened here. The fact of the matter is, Brady and Belichick clearly disagree on what the next couple years for Tom Brady is going to look like, or are going to look like, pardon me. And Kevin, I wouldn't blame Brady at all if he felt he had earned the Johnny Carson send-off. Johnny Carson hosted The Tonight Show for 40 years. On May 24th, 1991, I looked it up this morning, he announced when he was leaving. He said, "My final show will be May 22nd, 1992. Almost exactly 1 year later, and he nailed it to the actual day. You know why? Because he and the bosses said, hey, I need a farewell year. This is the day I want to go out. And he was allowed that. While if any athlete had ever earned that, it would have been Brady, especially when Brady thinks he still has a lot left in the tank. So I appreciate his graciousness here, Kevin, but I also think it's not his maybe most honest, true feelings about what just transpired.
See, I think it is pretty honest, Nick. And one side note, Johnny Carson also wanted Letterman to take over, and the bosses were like, nah, dude, we're Leno. And Leno ended up carrying NBC to like a number of first-place finishes over the next 2 decades, 3 decades. So that's just some late-night context. All right, so tell me if you, and I'm going to stick with entertainment, Nick. I'm going to go to screenwriting classes in movies that you watch. And part of screenwriting is the protagonist and the antagonist have to share some traits and values. And that happens at the end of the movie, around the 3rd act, when you're watching, you're like, oh my goodness, the good guy and the bad guy are largely the same person. That's Belichick and Brady. They both are super dedicated. They're both super competitive, and they're both based off trust. And I actually thought the most interesting quote about Belichick was actually about the wide receivers that Brady said. So if we put that quote up, I'll read it verbatim. And while you listen to it, imagine Belichick saying this about Brady. I would say, I don't have any trust that this guy can help us win the game. I've definitely expressed my opinion to say, if you put him out there, I'm not going to throw him the ball. The whole team is trusting me, Belichick or Brady, to do what's right by the team. So you can't put someone out there who I don't believe in. Because if I don't believe in him, it's worthless for the team. And I think, fortunately for me, Coach Belichick always saw it in the same way as me, which is why I think we had such a great connection. They are the same guys, and the way that Brady felt about his wide receivers is exactly how Belichick felt about him. And I think Tom Brady recognized that and is actually okay with it.
Coach, why do we all want Belichick to be someone that we know he isn't? You know Bill Belichick. You coached with Bill Belichick. The guy's all business. He's always been all business. He knew that eventually Brady was going to get, I don't want to say too old to play. I mean, not at least in New England, but eventually he was going to have to plan for life after Tom Brady. And that's exactly what he wanted to do and what he started to put in place. So what do you make of these comments by Tom Brady?
Yeah, well, first of all, Wild, I think this is better than any movie that you could ever put together and more unbelievable than any movie. The fact that you have a 6th-round quarterback, a head coach that was traded for, who had one winning season in his prior stint, and they go on to win 6 Super Bowls. If we saw that movie prior to it happening, we wouldn't believe it. But what I've said before with Tom is you can't go through 20 years of benefiting from Bill's ruthless economy or ruthless economic approach to players and see your friends traded, see guys come and go, and then suddenly expect it not to apply to you. So I do think Tom realizes that at some point it was going to happen to him. Where I don't think this was very gracious, and look, I traditionally side with Tom. I think him saying that Bill moved on from him implies that there was no chance that the Patriots were ever going to bring him back, which isn't consistent with things that we've heard either from Robert Kraft or in general. I thought that part actually wasn't gracious at all. He's saying that he was open to coming back, but is the truth he was only open to coming back on very specific terms? That to me is the part that doesn't sit well from the interview.
Well, Coach, let me follow up on, pardon me, let me follow up on that then, because Brady admitted in this interview that he knew before this season started that it was going to be his last season in New England. And so, we're in a weird spot right now where allow me to defend Tom Brady while you attack his character and everything about him. I'm very disarmed by what's happening right here. No, I know.
Bizarro world.
And so if you're Tom Brady in August of 2019 and you're 6 months removed from winning your 6th Super Bowl, you're 18 months removed from winning league MVP, and you're 30 months removed from winning your 5th Super Bowl in the greatest comeback in NFL history, and that Bill Belichick, the ruthless economy of thought and the way he builds the team says, nah, man, you have not done enough to get a contract extension, because ultimately contract extensions have never been about what you've done. They've only been about what you're doing moving forward. Brady said, that's when I knew I wasn't going to be back. So I think Belichick did, and Coach, tell me what you think, I think he did make it clear to Tom Brady that this was going to be his last year when he had the opportunity to ensure that it wasn't going to be his last year, and he decided against that. What do you think about that, Coach?
Well, to me, there's a difference between saying this is going to be your last year and there's no opportunity for you to stay versus saying we may see things economically differently. And there is a space that we can agree upon. It may not be what you're happy with. It may not be how you see your worth, but there is a place for you here if we can get to a number that works. And maybe it's incentive-based. And I think in Tom's mind, he deserved more, and I'm not begrudging him that. There is a distinction, though, between someone moving on from you and saying you don't have a home here, you don't have any opportunity here, versus someone saying, I disagree with the value that you place on yourself. We need to try to get to a spot that works for both of us. And I don't get a sense that New England said there was no opportunity. They just didn't see it as an opportunity. They didn't see the value the same way.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Coach, thanks so much. Have a great weekend. Much appreciated. Take a break. Coming up, Niners All-Pro tight end George Kittle is going to join the show. Next on First Things First.
Nice.